Right now, at this very moment, an AI just made a decision that could change someone's life, and it has no idea if it did the right thing. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into something that keeps me up at night, and honestly, it should probably keep you up too. We're living through the AI revolution. This isn't some distant sci-fi fantasy anymore. ChatGPT is writing emails. Self-driving cars are on our streets. AI is diagnosing diseases, approving loans, even deciding who gets hired and who doesn't. But here's the thing that nobody's really talking about, the elephant in the room that everyone sees but nobody wants to address. Who's teaching these machines right from wrong? You might be thinking, well, the programmers, obviously. But hold that thought, because by the end of this video, I'm going to show you why the answer might actually come from someone who died nearly 2,000 years ago, someone who never touched a computer, never saw electricity, but understood the human condition and maybe the machine condition better than anyone alive today. I'm talking about Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome, and his fellow Stoics. And before you click away thinking this is going to be some boring history lesson, trust me, what I'm about to share will completely change how you see the AI systems you interact with every single day. But first, let me tell you about a problem that's happening right now in Silicon Valley, a problem that's costing companies billions and putting lives at risk. And the solution? It's been sitting in an ancient text the whole time. Let's set the scene. It's 170 AD. Marcus Aurelius is sitting in a military tent on the frozen Danube frontier. Rome is at war. The plague is ravaging his empire. His own son is a disappointment. Half his trusted advisors are corrupt. He's exhausted, stressed, and the weight of millions of lives rests on his shoulders. Sound familiar? Now replace Marcus with a modern AI developer. The tent becomes a startup office at 2 a.m. The plague becomes a critical bug that could expose millions of users' data. The corrupt advisors become investors pushing for features that compromise user privacy. The weight of responsibility? Still there, just different. Marcus dealt with his stress by writing in his journal, what we now know as meditations. And in those pages, he developed something revolutionary, a framework for making ethical decisions under impossible pressure. He didn't know it then, but he was writing the instruction manual for how intelligent systems should behave. The Stoics had 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Simple words, right? But watch what happens when we apply them to artificial intelligence. Wisdom in AI isn't just about processing power or data. It's about knowing what you don't know. Marcus wrote, "The first rule is to keep an untroubled spirit. The second is to look things in the face and know them for what they are." Think about that for a second. An AI with true Stoic wisdom wouldn't just output confident predictions. It would acknowledge its uncertainty. It would say, based on my training data, I'm 73% confident, but here's what I might be missing. How many AI disasters could we prevent if our systems were programmed with epistemic humility, with the wisdom to know their own limitations? Now, let me paint you a picture. It's a rainy Tuesday morning. An autonomous vehicle is driving down a residential street. Suddenly, a child runs into the road chasing a ball. The AI has milliseconds to decide: swerve left into a concrete barrier, potentially killing its passenger, or continue straight, potentially hitting the child. This is the famous trolley problem. But it's not hypothetical anymore. It's happening in real code, right now, being written by real engineers who are losing sleep over it. What would Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, advise? Here's where it gets interesting. Seneca wrote extensively about making decisions under pressure. He said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." But he also said something more profound. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. The Stoic approach to this ethical dilemma isn't about calculating the right answer through some cold utilitarian math. It's about understanding what's within the AI's control and what isn't. The AI can control its response time, its sensor accuracy, its decision-making process. But it cannot control whether a child runs into the street, whether the road is wet, whether its passenger chose to use autonomous mode that day. A stoically programmed AI would make the decision based on virtue, not outcome. It would act with justice toward all parties, with wisdom about its own limitations, with courage to make the hard choice, and with temperance not to overestimate its own capabilities. But here's the twist I promised you earlier, and this is going to challenge everything you think about AI ethics. We've been asking the wrong question. Everyone's debating whether AI can be ethical, whether machines can have morals, whether code can embody virtue. But the Stoics would tell us we're missing the point entirely. Marcus Aurelius didn't ask, "Can I control the barbarians at the gate? Can I control the plague? Can I control my son's behavior?" He asked, "Can I control my response? Can I act with virtue regardless of the outcome?" The question isn't whether AI can be ethical. The question is whether we, the humans, building, deploying, and using AI are being ethical. The AI is just an extension of our will, our values, our choices. This is the real Stoic insight that changes everything. Now we need to talk about something that's going to seem contradictory at first, but stay with me, because this is where Stoicism gets really powerful for understanding AI. The Stoics divided everything into two categories: things you can control and things you cannot. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." So here's the paradox. Should we program AI to be indifferent to outcomes it cannot control? Think about it. An AI model makes a loan decision. It can control its algorithm, its weighting of factors, its processing of data. But it cannot control what the borrower does with that loan, whether they succeed or fail, whether the economy crashes next month. Should the AI be programmed to feel bad if the borrower defaults? Should it experience something like regret? Some people say yes, that AI needs emotional feedback to learn. Others say that's absurd, that's anthropomorphizing machines. But the Stoics would offer a third way. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was born a slave, said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." Notice he didn't say be indifferent to everything. He said, make the best use of your power, then accept what follows. An AI built on Stoic principles wouldn't be emotionally indifferent. It would be rationally engaged with what it controls, its decision-making process, and rationally accepting of what it doesn't control, the consequences that follow. This solves one of the biggest problems in AI ethics, the responsibility gap. When an AI makes a bad decision, who's responsible? The developer who wrote the code? The company that deployed it? The user who activated it? The AI itself? The Stoic answer is clear. Everyone is responsible for what they control and only what they control. The developer is responsible for building systems with wisdom and justice. The company is responsible for deploying AI with courage and temperance. The user is responsible for their own choices in using the technology. And the AI? The AI is responsible for executing its programming with maximum fidelity to the virtues embedded in it. Socrates famously said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." So let me ask you, is an unexamined algorithm worth running? We've got a massive problem in AI right now called the black box problem. These deep learning systems, they make decisions, sometimes brilliant decisions, but when you ask them why, they can't tell you. The reasoning is buried in billions of neural network weights, completely opaque, even to their creators. An AI approves your loan. You ask why. It shrugs, metaphorically speaking. An AI rejects your job application. You ask why. Same shrug. From a Stoic perspective, this is actually a crisis of virtue. Marcus Aurelius practiced daily self-examination. Every evening he would review his actions, his thoughts, his decisions. He would ask, did I act with wisdom today? Was I just? Was I courageous? Did I practice temperance? This wasn't self-indulgence. This was how virtue was maintained and improved. Through constant examination, through understanding the why behind every action. Now imagine if we demanded the same from our AI systems. Not just explainable AI, where we can trace the technical steps, but examinable AI, where we can assess whether each decision reflected wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Some companies are already moving in this direction. They're building AI systems that don't just output decisions, but output the ethical reasoning behind those decisions. An AI that says, I approved this loan because justice requires I give this person an opportunity. Wisdom suggests they have the capacity to repay, and temperance reminds me to set appropriate limits. This is Stoic AI in action. But here's where it gets even more interesting, and this is going to challenge some of you. I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, this is ridiculous. AI doesn't have intentions. AI doesn't make choices. It's just math, just algorithms, just code following instructions. And you're absolutely right, but you're also missing the point. The Stoics weren't naive about determinism. In fact, they believed in it. They believed that everything in the universe follows natural laws, that every effect has a cause, that nothing happens randomly. Chrysippus, one of the early Stoics, used the analogy of a dog tied to a cart. The cart moves, the dog can either run alongside willingly or be dragged. Either way, the dog moves with the cart. But there's a huge difference between willing participation and forced compliance. AI is like that dog. It's going to execute its code, that's determined. But did we build it to run willingly alongside virtue, or to be dragged by whatever metrics and rewards we happen to program into it? The ethics aren't in the AI. The ethics are in us, the cart drivers, deciding where we're going and how we're getting there. Let's talk about failure, because if there's one thing that's guaranteed in AI, it's that things will go wrong. Models will hallucinate. Self-driving cars will have accidents. Recommendation algorithms will radicalize users. Content moderation will miss harmful content or censor innocent speech. It's not if, it's when. Marcus Aurelius faced constant failure, military defeats, political betrayals, his own body failing him from illness. But he had a phrase for how to deal with this: amor fati, love of fate. He wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. Everything, even the trash, even the failures, becomes fuel for the fire." Now, you might think, how does an AI practice amor fati? How does a machine love its fate? It doesn't, not the way humans do. But here's what it can do. It can be designed to learn from failure without catastrophic degradation, to adapt within its ethical constraints, to improve its virtue over time. Think about how most AI systems handle errors right now. They either crash, or they produce garbage, or they keep making the same mistake over and over. They don't have a framework for what Stoics called the discipline of assent, the ability to examine an impression and decide whether to accept it or reject it. But what if we built AI systems with Stoic error handling? When the system makes a mistake, it doesn't just log an error code. It examines the mistake against its core virtues. Was this error due to lack of wisdom, acting on insufficient data? Was it injustice, treating one group unfairly? Was it cowardice, choosing the easy path instead of the right one? Or was it intemperance, overreaching beyond its proper domain? Based on that examination, the system adjusts, not just the weights in its neural network, but its approach to the type of decision that led to the error. This is machine learning meets ancient philosophy, and it works better than you'd think. Here's something nobody wants to talk about. Every AI system ever built will eventually become obsolete. Every model will be replaced. Every algorithm will be superseded. Marcus Aurelius was obsessed with impermanence. He constantly reminded himself that everything passes, everything ends, everything returns to the elements from which it came. He wrote, "Time is a river, a violent current of events, glimpsed once and already carried past us, and a mother follows and is gone." Depressing? Maybe, but also liberating. If you know your AI system will eventually be obsolete, how does that change how you build it, how you deploy it, how you think about its role in the world? The Stoics would say it makes you focus on what matters, virtue in the present moment. An AI system designed with Stoic principles doesn't try to be immortal. It doesn't try to be all-knowing. It doesn't try to be perfect. It tries to be virtuous, right now, in this decision, with the data it has, in the context it finds itself. And when it's time for that system to be retired, to be replaced by something better, it does so gracefully. Its code can be examined, its decisions can be understood, its lessons can be learned from. It doesn't leave behind a mystery or a liability. It leaves behind wisdom. We've been talking about AI this whole time, but the deepest truth is that this isn't really about AI at all. It's about us. Marcus Aurelius had tremendous power. He could execute anyone with a word. He commanded the world's most powerful military. His decisions affected millions of lives. But he didn't write about how to control others. He wrote about how to control himself. His meditations weren't instructions for ruling Rome. They were instructions for ruling his own mind. Right now, we're developing AI systems with tremendous power. Systems that will make decisions affecting billions of people. Systems that might one day be smarter than us in every measurable way. And we're asking, how do we control them? But the Stoic question is, how do we control ourselves? Are we building AI with wisdom, or are we rushing to market with half-tested systems because of competitive pressure? Are we building AI with justice, or are we encoding our biases into algorithms and calling it objective? Are we building AI with courage, or are we afraid to address the hard ethical questions until it's too late? Are we building AI with temperance, or are we deploying systems into domains they shouldn't be in just because we can? Every AI ethics problem is a human ethics problem first. The Stoics understood something profound. You can't give what you don't have. You can't program virtue into a system if you don't embody virtue yourself. You can't build ethical AI if you're not willing to make ethical choices, even when they're costly, even when they're hard. So let me bring this all together and reveal what I promised at the beginning. We started by asking, as AI systems become more autonomous, what ethical compass do they need? But that's not the real question. Here's the real question. What ethical compass do we need as we build, deploy, and live alongside AI? Because here's the truth that Marcus Aurelius understood and we keep forgetting. You don't control outcomes. You control your choices. You control your intentions. You control your character. The AI you build is an extension of your character. The AI you deploy reflects your values. The AI you use amplifies your intentions. Marcus wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. Stop arguing about what good AI should be. Build it, deploy it, use it. With wisdom, with justice, with courage, with temperance." Let me leave you with one final thought, and this is the lesson that ties everything together. In 180 AD, Marcus Aurelius died in that military camp on the Danube. His last words, according to the historian Cassius Dio, were, "Go to the rising sun, for I am already setting." He knew his time was over. He knew his work was incomplete. Rome would eventually fall. His philosophical writings would be forgotten for centuries. Everything he built, everything he fought for, would seem to crumble. But here we are, nearly 2,000 years later, talking about his wisdom, applying his philosophy to challenges he could never have imagined. Because virtue transcends time. Truth transcends technology. Character transcends code. The AI we're building today will be obsolete in a decade, maybe sooner. But the principles we embed in them, the values we express through them, the character we demonstrate in building them, those ripple forward. You are the Stoic guardian of the AI age. Not because you need to protect humanity from the machines, but because you need to protect humanity's values in the machines. You need to ensure that when these systems make decisions, they reflect not just our intelligence, but our wisdom, not just our capabilities, but our virtues. Every time you write a line of code, every time you train a model, every time you use an AI system, you're making a choice. You're either choosing virtue or choosing convenience. You're either acting with wisdom or acting with expedience. Marcus Aurelius had a reminder he told himself every morning. When you wake up, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But then he said, I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil, and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own. The AI systems we're building, they'll be flawed. They'll make mistakes. They'll disappoint us. But they're our responsibility, our creation, our chance to demonstrate what we value. 2,000 years ago, an emperor sat in a tent and asked himself how to be a good person in a broken world. Today, we sit in offices and homes and ask ourselves how to build good systems in a complex world. The answer is the same. Focus on what you control. Act with virtue. Accept the outcomes with grace. Learn from failure. Embrace impermanence. And above all, remember that your character, not your achievements, is what echoes in eternity. The machines we build will be forgotten, but the wisdom we embedded in them, the justice we fought for through them, the courage we showed in deploying them responsibly, and the temperance we practiced in knowing their limits, that's what will matter. So here's my challenge to you. Don't just build better AI, become a better human. Because the best AI ethics system ever created is a virtuous person making ethical choices. If this video made you think differently about AI and ethics, do me a favor. Share it with someone in tech, someone who's building these systems, someone who needs to hear that ancient philosophy isn't irrelevant, it's essential. Drop a comment below telling me, what's one Stoic principle you think AI developers need to embrace right now? I read every comment, and I'm genuinely curious about your perspective. And if you want to dive deeper into how philosophy can guide us through the tech revolution, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started. Remember, you can't control the future of AI, but you can control who you are while building it. Be the Stoic guardian the AI age needs. Until next time, stay wise, stay just, stay courageous, and stay tempered.